tonight on CBC Vancouver News. Taking Telus Health to court, why the government is accusing the company of fostering a two-tier medical system in BC.
This is like a big moment in Canada history.
We're an up-and-coming country. There's no doubt about it.
And looking ahead, Canada's World Cup journey may be over, but some say this is just the beginning.
More time, more money.
Plus, as the Port of Vancouver aims for zero emissions, critics question the reality of such a lofty goal.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Anita Bathe. A group of victims of an alleged Chinese currency exchange scam want a police investigation into the millions of dollars they claim have been lost. As Eva Yuguenseng reports, the victims were using exchange services that, while legal, operate in an area that may lack consumer protections.
I was furious.
An Dong Pan thought referring his client to a currency exchange business in Richmond was standard practice. Now the realtor says because of that decision, he's out of pocket nearly $500,000 and has little hope of ever seeing his money again.
These are breaking society's rules, and they're breaking the laws, breaking the rules here, and so many victims, they had such bad experience.
Foreign currency exchange businesses are commonly used by Chinese immigrants who need money while their assets are still in China. That's because the Chinese state limits individuals to withdrawing a maximum of $50,000 a year. The exchange business sets the exchange rate with the customer. Then the customer transfers Chinese currency into a designated account in China, and the exchange business delivers the equivalent in Canadian dollars to the customer in Canada. Pan says his client made an exchange deal with an agent working for Zhu Dong Lu and her husband, Jia Hao Dong. They operated a currency exchange in Richmond until January of this year. In a lawsuit, Pan alleges Lu and Dong still owe $431,000 from the deal. According to the suit, after the couple missed the scheduled payments, Pan reimbursed his client the money himself.
Couldn't sleep well. I have nightmares.
Lu and Dong didn't respond to the suit, and a judge ordered them to pay Pan, who says he's yet to receive the sum. CBC News has found at least 9 lawsuits filed against Lu and Dong, which account for millions of dollars allegedly being defrauded. Lu and Dong have not filed responses to some of the claims, but in a reply to 3, they denied any wrongdoing. Last month, a group of 16 alleged victims, including Pan, went to the RCMP detachment in Richmond to ask the police to formally investigate. Now the RCMP says its economic crime unit is investigating the incidents. Foreign currency exchange businesses are legal, but experts say with current regulations, there is potential for fraud and money laundering.
I mean, this is what fraudsters do. They prey on trust. They prey on people in their own community that trust them, or they prey on elderly people who, have grown up in a society where they trust people.
Both the Cullen Commission and the Dirty Money Report into money laundering in British Columbia recommended more provincial oversight of businesses like currency exchanges. The Ministry of Finance said in a statement it is committed to addressing the recommendations. Eva Yuguenseng, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, a battle is brewing over health care offered by Telus in this province. BC's Medical Services Commission has applied for a court injunction to stop the massive company's LifePlus program. As Mira Baines reports, critics argue it charges patients thousands of dollars for preferential treatment.
Telus Health is a growing wing of the BC-based company. It found a lucrative role providing healthcare services amid the pandemic and the province's doctor shortage. But its LifePlus program has now attracted legal action, alleging it has breached the Medicare Protection Act.
I don't believe any Canadian should have to spend $4,000 a year to see a primary care provider.
Mark Winston complained to the commission about an offer to join LifePlus when his doctor started working with Telus.
I should still be able to see my doctor and have them bill MSP directly without any other costs. So to me, that's a bit of a smokescreen.
Documents filed in court claim a subscription to the Telus Life program costs up to $4,700 a year. The province wants Telus to stop. BC's health minister notes the case centers around the LifePlus program and its membership fees, not Telus Virtual Health.
The legal process will now unfold as it should. The Medical Services Commission will argue its case for an injunction in the coming weeks, and in the meantime, the government will continue its efforts to strongly defend our public health care system.
An auditor with the Health Ministry noted in an affidavit there are concerns paying members are potentially receiving preferred access to MSP-insured services provided by LifePlus doctors. Telus argues LifePlus services deal with preventative care and claims the company has not been given a chance to address the issue with the Medical Services Commission.
We have not been given the opportunity to do so. It feels rather political. We welcome the legal proceeding. The matter is in front of the courts.
The BC Green Party wants to know why a review into these practices wasn't made public earlier this year.
The public should absolutely be able to see a publicly funded body's report on our public healthcare system and whether there is for-profit encroachment into that healthcare system.
The Health Ministry says the injunction application is just a first step. Telus has 21 days to file a response and could ask for an extension before any court date is set. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
The federal government has officially launched its dental care program, which it estimates will help up to 500,000 children.
Our government will help parents pay dental expenses for their kids with up to $1,300 over the next 2 years.
Parents can apply with the Canada Revenue Agency to receive the benefit. It's open to kids under the age of 12 who do not have private coverage and whose families earn less than $90,000 a year. Well, the Port of Vancouver has pledged to be zero emissions by 2050. It's a lofty goal that few ports across the globe are striving for. But as John Hernandez reports, some critics here are questioning whether it's even achievable, given some of the port's commitments.
The hum of this port patrol boat isn't coming from your traditional fuel.
We're using 100% renewable diesel. And so that's a test or a demonstration that we're doing to kind of understand the operability of that fuel.
The boat still emits fossil fuels, but it has a smaller carbon footprint because it's not pulled from the ground. It's one of the many small steps the Port of Vancouver says it's taking to meet a massive goal.
We have to find a way to get this port to a zero-emission port. That's our vision.
A vision with a 2050 deadline. To get there, the Port of Vancouver has installed these electric cranes, part of its vehicle fleet, now electric, efforts it hopes to scale up in the years ahead.
That really is about an energy transition. It's thinking about how to get different types of increasingly lower carbon intensity fuels and technologies into the port, into heavy-duty transportation.
Few ports across the world have made such a commitment. Still, critics say the goal is undermined by the port's ongoing commitment to liquid natural gas.
We have been advocating specifically to Vancouver to make sure that they're not making any investments in LNG bunkering.
The port has partnered with FortisBC to build an LNG ship fueling station to meet growing demand over the next decade.
It's only furthering our reliance on fossil fuels and continuing this benefit that fossil companies are receiving off the backs of our public health and the well-being of our planet.
But the port calls LNG a transition fuel on the road to cleaner marine fuels.
We need to find what those other fuels and technologies are, but that's going to require expanding electrification, battery technology, distribution of electrical power, conversion to hydrogen where it's needed or necessary. So all that takes more time, more money.
A transition that's only becoming more urgent amid growing global calls to rein in an industry that's one of the world's worst polluters. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
The federal and provincial governments are coming together to help protect Cultus Lake with a new wastewater treatment plant. More than $9.9 million in joint funding will go towards the construction of a new facility to upgrade collection and treatment of wastewater. The new facility will help manage sediment and remove nutrients like nitrogen to control algae growth and protect aquatic habitats. The Suwali First Nation will also see the installation of a pressurized sewer pipe that will service the lands. Well, dozens of charges have been laid against 3 Hells Angels members on Vancouver Island.
The Hells Angels, as everyone knows, is an international outlaw motorcycle club that has had connections to gang and organized crime activity in BC, across Canada, and internationally for decades. In British Columbia, there have been many incidents and investigations involving members of the Hells Angels connected to violence, firearms, and drug trafficking.
The Combined Forces Special Enforcement Unit says there are warrants out for 3 full-patch members of the Nanaimo Hells Angels, as well as an associate. Police say the suspects face 41 charges, including incidents involving drug trafficking and firearms. A police officer caught on camera repeatedly punching a suspect during an arrest has been found not guilty of assault. Today, a provincial court judge ruled Kelowna RCMP Constable Siggy Peterzak used, quote, necessary force in the 2020 arrest. Video captured in a downtown Kelowna parking lot showed him running towards the suspect, who was struggling with 2 other officers. He's then seen punching the man in the head at least 10 times while the other officers restrained him. And he was charged in April of 2021. An RCMP news release at the time said he was suspended with pay. Some international students in BC are raising concerns about tuition hikes at Emily Carr University. The fees are increasing significantly for those coming from out of country. And as Yasmin Gandam tells us today, a walkout took place over the financial pressures.
Whose school? Our school. Whose school? Dozens of students took their anger over tuition hikes outdoors, holding signs reading "Stop exploiting students" and "Education is a right, not a privilege." The protest comes after the university announced plans to raise tuition by 30% for incoming international students and 10% for current ones.
There's never been an increase this high at the university, and there has also never been a vote on tuition this early in the school year. This is happening 4 months earlier than it happened last year.
Paige Aris is a current international student from the U.S. She currently pays $9,000 a semester. She says with rising rent fees and inflation, she doesn't know how to keep up.
It just feels like everything bubbling more to the top, almost as if we're all in a pressure cooker and it's just like slowly building and building before all the steam releases.
In a statement, the university argues the increase is required to continue providing quality education, and the hike is needed to balance the budget as required by law.
We came here with the hopes of building, of creating on this land.
Students from all over the world say an increase like this doesn't just have financial consequences.
I remember how my teacher back in China told me about how Emily Carr is like the greatest university to attend an art class. But it wasn't good for me because my mental health is not doing so good right now.
It really hurts you because you think you're not really like, you don't see the value of you being here at a point anymore. You just feel used, essentially.
Emily Carr administration was aware of the planned walkout. It says it respects the rights of students to voice their concerns by taking action and the challenges higher tuition payments will create for some. But there are no plans to halt the hikes. Yasmin Gandam, CBC News, Vancouver.
ICBC says this week's snowfall led to a sharp spike in the number of crashes. More than 3,500 claims were filed for Tuesday. That's nearly double the number of claims for the same day last week. With more snow expected tomorrow, the corporation is urging drivers to slow down and make sure cars are prepared for winter. Now, that snowstorm also saw hundreds of drivers stuck, some of them for up to 12 hours. Now there are calls for a big regional meeting to make sure that chaos doesn't happen again. New West Councillor Daniel Fontaine and Surrey Councillor Linda Annis want better coordination and planning. The Snow Summit would involve local governments, the province, transit operators, and road maintenance contractors. Annis herself left downtown Vancouver at 7:15 p.m. and didn't get home to South Surrey until 4:45 in the morning. The councillors say there needs to be some accountability for what happened. All right, Johanna Wagstaff is off tonight. Kuljeet, you promised the cold, and I gotta say, you delivered.
I don't know if I promised it exactly. It just kind of happened on its own. And it's going to get even colder. But first, we're going to start with a time lapse of Vancouver outside earlier this afternoon around 4 o'clock, just before the sun went down. This is taking a look at South Vancouver, some low-lying rolling fog. Not fog, sorry, clouds. with some really cold temperatures below it, and that's going to continue. Cold temperatures across the province. We've still got plenty of alerts for coastal BC right down to the lower mainland. Really below seasonal temperatures is what we're seeing currently outside right now. -7 in Abbotsford, -3 at the airport and on the North Shore. A lot colder than what we're used to from this time of year, including for tonight. With the wind chill, it will drop down to -12. The average for this time of year is around 7 degrees, just to give you an idea. That next set of flurries that's coming is possible for Friday at 40%. This weekend it's going to remain very cold, but it will be nice and sunny. The sun went down at 4:16 p.m., -3. It will rise tomorrow morning with -4, cold conditions. And tomorrow's high will only be about 2 degrees. We might see that those flurries start later in the afternoon, but I'll have more details on that coming up. Anita?
I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Kuljeet. Turning now to affordability in this province. Food banks across BC are really struggling to keep up with demand. At Loaves and Fishes on Vancouver Island, it's about taking the burden of food off of the plate of those in need. We spoke to them about why they think of themselves as more of a food pipeline.
My name is Alex Council. We're here at Loaves and Fishes Food Bank in Nanaimo. We're here for people that need food help in Nanaimo, but also broader across Vancouver Island as well. This year, we've definitely seen people come back to the food banks. We've opened more locations for people to get food, and there's a lot of people coming to the food bank.
We don't close. We do that 7 days a week, 364 days a year, and we have 30 partners currently. About 85% of the food we recover is perfectly good for people to eat. There's nothing wrong with it. By giving free food to all the other organizations and Indigenous communities, they can take the money that they would have spent on food and they put it towards the programming they do best. So it's great that but that's kind of why we only do food. We don't have nutrition programs. We don't have a soup kitchen. We do food because by pushing it out to those people, they're already experts in this. We don't need to be redundant and take on what they're already doing. So our biggest pinch right now is space. We can't be a food bank. We have to be a food pipe. We have to pipe it because we have so much coming in. There's more food coming every day. So the thing that makes us a little bit special is that we actually need people to take the food. So the idea is to have a circular food system where food waste is diverted and people have enough to eat. Right now, we're doing around 300,000 pounds a month worth of food coming through this warehouse.
I think the community embraces us. We get a lot of community support, a lot of individuals that donate, a lot of individuals that volunteer as well. So I think the community embraces Loaves and Fishes and loves what we do. If you'd like to volunteer, if you'd like to donate even $25, if you'd like to donate a little bit of food, it all adds up and it all makes a difference.
And a reminder, tomorrow we here at CBC British Columbia are once again hosting our annual Food Bank Day. We'll have a special programming that's happening province-wide on CBC Radio 1 and CBC Listen, and of course, well, raising money for Food Banks BC. But you don't have to wait to give. Our online donation portal is already open. All you have to do is visit foodbanksbc.com to give. Well, Canada's trip to the Men's World Cup is over, with the team losing its final group stage match. But as Thomas Douglas shows us, everyone's sights are already set on what comes next, 2026.
Go Canada! Woo! Think of it as a peek into Canada's soccer future. Glory on the biggest stage is out of reach for now, but fans are still eager to cheer.
It's a history. Yeah, we've been a part of history.
It gives hope for the next generation as well.
Miriam McDuff hopes her son, Anderson Arthur, will see Canada reach new heights in his lifetime.
From the time we were qualifying all the matches, when I was pregnant, we were there, and now he's here, 6 months old.
From kickoff, fans watched the mighty Moroccans take it to Canada. Goalkeeper Milan Borjan accidentally gave away the ball and a goal in just the 4th minute. Then the Moroccans struck again. Canada's Sam Adekoupe responded with a shot deflected by a Moroccan player, allowing Canada to score. There were agonizingly close calls for Canada, but in the end, Morocco won 2-1.
How do you feel?
Very disappointed.
For Canada's supporters and the team itself, it's time to go home. Earlier than they'd hoped, with only losses.
Against 3 of the best teams in the world, they did their best, and we're happy for them.
I hope they got a lot of experience out of this.
With several promising young players, the squad expects its best days are ahead of them. And what about head coach John Herdman?
You'll not find anyone as passionate as I am about this program.
After elevating Canada's women and men, he may now be fielding new offers from abroad.
Will John Herdman be head coach at the World Cup in 2026?
He will. He will. Yeah.
You can guarantee that?
Well, I can guarantee that I want John to be the head coach in 2026.
In less than 4 years, Canada gets an added advantage with the Men's World Cup coming home. Thomas Dagle, CBC News, Doha.
Yeah, I don't think the expectation was huge to get past this first stage, but you definitely see the momentum that's building and what the team could become. And of course, just being on that pitch on the world stage has been enough to spark all kinds of excitement here at home in BC. And as Susana De Silva shows us, to give the whole sport here a boost.
Even though Canada's World Cup fate was already decided,
wearing number 19, Alfonso Davies!
Today was still a chance to celebrate.
Fun?
Yeah?
Super exciting.
I feel like this is like a big moment in Canada history.
This school made it into a month-long event.
The last couple of years has been tough on the kids, so giving them anything to celebrate, using the World Cup as a way to engage them.
Before, I didn't really think soccer was like something to do. I didn't think soccer would be that fun.
Elsewhere in the country, while the parties were a little more muted, that spark for the game remained.
I wanted to come support my boys.
17-year-old Matthew Turpin was first in line at 6 a.m.
Hopefully I can make it to one or be a player in one soon.
It's a wonderful time for the game in the country, probably the best in its history.
This former Team Canada player says it's a good time for young players with a dream.
And I look at the opportunities now for boys and girls and the exposure that the players can get.
10, 15 years ago, to make it professionally in Canada, it was one of those things where it was Europe or you're done. And now you have the likes of League One BC, League One Ontario, providing all these different stepping stones for these young players.
And the added World Cup inspiration is already translating to the pitch. 10-year-old Jeffrey Zhao begged his dad for this extra playing time.
Well, I can notice him start to want to train more, and he just recovered from a flu, but he cannot wait at home.
And he says he cannot wait to one day don the maple leaf.
I try to improve more and harder and practice harder so then I can one day play for Canada.
Big dreams and some new valuable role models. Susana De Silva, CBC News, Vancouver.
Clothing can be a big part of your personal and community identity. And this week, First Nations creators are celebrating their cultural creativity. We'll take you onto the runway at Indigenous Fashion Week next. Thanks for watching our commercial-free live stream tonight. Alberta scientists recently unveiled some new life-changing gadgets. Now, these devices help kids with motor impairment to do simple things like turn off a light with their mind. The brain-computer interface technology allows them to be more independent. Take a look at how it works.
Claire has cerebral palsy. It affects her entire body. So she needs help with pretty much everything. The biggest thing I can say to anyone is not to underestimate these kids. She hears everything. She understands everything. And when we give them a way that they can show what they know and what they can do, it is just, it's a light at the end of the tunnel. The possibilities are endless.
Today we
demonstrated the Think to Switch project, which was our first step over the past year at trying to commercialize a connection device that brings brain-computer interface out of the computer into the real world. It's really helpful because already individuals who are used to access technology and using these might have toys or games or at-home objects and items that they would like to use, and they traditionally use a switch, but this enables a brain-computer interface to act as a switch to then be able to turn on these objects at their home or for play in a variety of different settings.
It's brought a new aspect to play. Claire is a huge part of play in our family. She has her own role, but now it's an active role, an active independent role. And that's what makes the difference, is that before it was me helping her paint or me helping her push something on, and now it's her thinking what she wants to happen and it actually going. So like we saw with musical chairs today, Claire was the DJ. So she turned on the music herself and the boys danced, and that's what it is. And watching them be able to interact, you know, Brody yelling at Claire to turn off the music because he's getting tired or do this, it's something that we haven't been able to do before because she wasn't doing things on her own. So the kids are interacting in a much more typical way, and it just brings a lot more laughter in our house.
Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week is back this year after a 2-year pandemic hiatus. The annual spectacle brings together Indigenous talent from across the continent to showcase their creativity. And tonight, our Vincent Papaquash takes us down the runway, literally.
Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week kicked off on Monday. So I came here to find out what it's about, to get to know who's involved, why Indigenous entrepreneurship is so important, but also how to walk a runway. The first show was in 2017. It brings together Indigenous designers, models, and mentees to foster a culture of creativity, support, and entrepreneurship.
I'm happy that people are getting creative. I think as Indigenous people, we're just naturally creative, and I feel like it's pretty normal.
I think about how our identities are really represented in how we choose to clothe ourselves. So yeah, I think it's a really important art form.
It's not just designers and models who feel a bond with this event. The Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week mentorship program welcomes Indigenous youth interested in all areas of the fashion industry, and some models turn into mentors.
Yeah, I do backstage, I give tips, and actually on the first day somebody did ask me for some advice because they said I looked really calm and they were feeling a lot of the energy.
So I've been mentoring. This is the reason why actually Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week exists. It started off as a mentorship program back in 2014. These young people that I'm mentoring are mostly Indigenous youth in foster care. I worked with Amber for a very long time. A lot of these kids who are hitting the runway I've known since they've been 10, right? And they're 25 now. So just watching that intergenerational mentorship happening. I'm getting mentored by Pam Baker. I'm mentoring them, and they're mentoring these other really young ones.
The world of fashion can be an intimidating place, but that's not the case here. So what does it take to walk a runway? Can you teach me what that is like?
Yeah. Vincent, you're going to stand there, you're going to Strong pose. Yes, like that. All right. And then I'm going to get you to walk towards me. Yeah. Oh, strut. Strut, strut, strut. Nice. And I'm going to get you to stop right here. Right there and stop. Strike a pose. Yes, yes, yes. And then walk back. That's right. That's right. That's right. Looking good. I should get you on the runway.
For this community, the culture of fashion and support doesn't end when Fashion Week wraps up. It's lived and breathed every day. Vincent Papaquash, CBC News, Vancouver.
All right, Vincent, there's no way that was your first runway walk. You rocked it. Nice work. Okay, for the last 2 weeks, we've been bringing you stories about Vancouver's tech industry and its role in the metaverse and Web3 around the world. So tonight, we close our series with a little field trip for me. Take a look. I will admit, I know absolutely nothing about virtual reality and the metaverse. So today I'm here at the Departure Lounge in Vancouver. Now it's on Great Northern Way, and this whole area is really the center, the hub for digital space in Vancouver. Let's go check it out. I'm gonna do something really cool.
Anita, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
I'm Adam Rogers, head of studio, VP of Creative Departure Lounge. You're going to be turned into a hologram today.
Amazing.
Shall I walk you through the process?
Yes, please. This looks incredible.
Come onto the stage, the hallowed green turf.
It also looks a little scary, I'm not going to lie.
It does, but it's actually painless. So where traditionally we are on a film set where maybe there's one camera looking at you, here we have 106 cameras that surround you. And so when you're performing in the center of this stage, rather than one camera capturing you, every camera is capturing you.
I'm definitely used to one camera looking at me every night. This is wild, this many cameras in one spot.
As performance spaces, social spaces emerge in the metaverse, having this type of technology to enable humans to put themselves in those worlds is hugely advantageous.
Okay, so you're talking a lot about performance in this space. What does that actually mean? What do I have to do?
We're going to give you the opportunity to take yourself from reality and put you in a 3D space playing basketball.
Anita, intro, take one, sound.
Rolling.
Awesome.
I think that was good, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. While that's being processed, the data's all being crunched down to create the model that you see on the screen today. And then my creative team, they've been working on the environments and integration.
Okay, so this is me as a hologram at the virtual departure lounge. Pretty cool, I have to say. Oh, real Anita, I've been waiting for you. What took you so long? Well, I was waiting for you to get processed. It takes more than 24 hours, right? Oh, so you want to play some ball, eh? I guess we got to be on a basketball court for that. Here we are.
So we're dealing with really new tech here. 106 cameras are capturing terabytes of data. We take all that data and we squeeze it down into really small file sizes. We're talking megabytes, not even gigabytes. But the basketball court needed to be built, and then we needed to integrate you into that. So all in all, what we did for you in the 24 hours is pretty amazing, because this process normally takes a good couple of weeks to get from start to finish. This stage is a unique one in Canada and only one of 3 in North America. We're still iterating as we go, and where we are today with your hologram specifically is the best it's at. But every day we're striving to improve the fidelity, and we're very close now to full 4K resolution that is mirrored to what we see on our TV screen. It opens up a massive doorway for content creators with this kind of technology and holograms in general.
Yeah, so like you said, 5 years ago, this wouldn't even have been possible. Really new technology, but something that is expanding significantly. As someone who's technologically challenged, I think I get it now. What I do know is I have a pretty sweet hologram. What I need is for it to dunk the ball next time. So that takes a little more than 24 hours to process. We'll see if we can make it happen. The artist formerly known as Kanye West continued his alarming descent into anti-Semitism today. The rapper and fashion designer saying he, quote, likes Hitler. Why advocates say his embrace of white supremacy might inspire others to embrace anti-Jewish rhetoric. That story after the break.
The community of orcas that hangs out between Victoria and Washington State is the world's most studied, watched, and urban. Now, Canada's Committee on the Status of Endangered Wildlife says they are also the whales whose survival is most uncertain.
Well, endangered is sort of the highest level of alarm you can go to. It's telling us that there's something seriously wrong with this population, and if something's not done, we could well end up losing them.
6 years ago, there were 99 orcas in the southern population. Now there are 78, a decline of 20%. No one knows why, but here's a clue. J18 is a young male who died of a massive bacterial infection in an abscess. Now, the orcas are among the most contaminated marine mammals in the world. The southern population has 2 to 3 times the levels of PCBs and dioxins as the belugas of the St. Lawrence. Did toxins kill J18?
This kind of effect is not inconsistent with the contribution of something like a PCB. PCBs and dioxins are very typical contaminants that affect the immune system. They make animals weaker, more vulnerable to infections.
What else? Lack of fish, harassment by whale watchers, underwater noise.
And whether this noise caused by everything from cruise ships to tugboats, fish boats, whale watch boats, all contribute to an incredible amount of noise underwater that may be affecting their ability to find prey through their echolocation, their sonar system.
The population of orcas near northern Vancouver Island is also at risk. Its status threatened. Yet Paul Spong, who has observed the whales for decades, is actually pleased by the new listings. He believes it will encourage the United States to list the southern population under its Endangered Species Act.
In Canada, we don't have too many direct consequences that flow from a listing like this. But in the US, there are direct consequences, and things will have to be done.
Even in Canada, the listing should mean an orca recovery team will be set up. But with the causes of the decline still a mystery, just what the team can do is uncertain. Eve Savory, CBC News, Vancouver.
We're sharing really important information with the public, and I feel like this is exactly what our job is, especially as the public broadcaster, especially in morning radio. That's incredibly important.
Well, the artist formerly known as Kanye West may now be the most famous anti-Semite in the U.S. On a live stream, the 22 Grammy award-winning rapper left no room for doubt, publicly praising the Nazis and denying the Holocaust. As Katie Simpson shows us, it's reinforcing fears that such hate is growing in the mainstream.
But this guy...
Conspiracy theorist Alex Jones invited Kanye West onto his program. He's the one with the covered face. And the conversation was as offensive and harmful as you might expect.
You're not a Nazi. You don't deserve to be called that and demonized.
I see good things about Hitler also.
West has been saying and posting things like that for months.
I want this country to
Recently, he brought a well-known white supremacist and Holocaust denier to dinner with Donald Trump, which the Republican candidate for president has refused to clearly denounce.
It boggles the mind. I just can't. It is almost hard to understand that this is happening in 2022.
Advocates are sounding the alarm that anti-Semitism in the U.S. is becoming mainstream. The Anti-Defamation League has found acts of hate have been rising steadily. Last year, it tracked 2,717 anti-Semitic incidents throughout the United States, making it the highest number on record since ADL began tracking anti-Semitic incidents in 1979.
We're definitely on track to be probably around what 2021 was, possibly even higher. It has certainly not gone down.
Would you say there's been a normalization of anti-Semitism?
Not only normalizing it, but also the fact that increasingly it's become socially acceptable.
Dr. Peter Hotez requires security when speaking in public. As a vaccine developer, he's been inundated with anti-Semitic threats based on COVID conspiracy theories that try to blame the Jewish community for the pandemic.
People need to understand why anti-Semitic rhetoric and anti-Semitic targeting is so dangerous, and its legacy, of course, with the most dramatic version being what happened in the Holocaust.
In its latest domestic threat assessment, the Department of Homeland Security says the Jewish community is among several groups at risk of being targeted. The U.S. will remain in a heightened threat environment until at least next May. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
Netflix is trying to pump up interest in its upcoming documentary series about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. The company has released its first promotional trailer for the 6-part series. And as the CBC's Abby Kugadasan reports, it comes at an awkward time for the royal family.
It's the first look at the much-anticipated docu-series featuring the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. In the 1-minute trailer, we see black and white photos of the couple, but also an image with the Prince and Princess of Wales. Netflix says the series will explore the early days of Harry and Meghan's courtship, but also the challenges they faced before they stepped away from the British monarchy. Harry and Meghan left their roles as working members of the royal family in 2020 and moved to the U.S. Since then, they've spoken to Oprah about the difficulties they've experienced within the family and the institution, some of it which was linked to racism. This trailer comes as a royal scandal brews in London. A black British domestic abuse campaigner says she was interrogated by Prince William's godmother about her identity at a Buckingham Palace event. Ngozi Fulani says Susan Hussey approached her, touched her hair, and persistently badgered her about where she was really from.
I don't know who you are, but it is not okay to put your hand in my hair, whoever you are. But we are taught to respect elders, and she was a senior to me. And I thought, okay, just let it pass. She said, "What's your nationality?" And I said, "Lady, I was born here, I'm British." I was thinking that would be the end of it. No. No, where are you really from? Where are your people from? Lady, my people. What is this?
The palace reacted quickly, calling the comments unacceptable. Hussey is no longer a royal aide. She'd been the Queen's lady-in-waiting for some 60 years, raising fresh questions about racism within the institution. Abby Kugadasan, CBC News, London.
While the southern resident orcas remain on the edge of extinction, another group off Vancouver Island is faring very well. The secrets to northern residents is next. And at 6:42, a live look tonight at Harbor Center downtown. A cool, crisp day today, but will we see a return of the chaos tomorrow with more snow on the way? Kuljeet tells us what we're in for after the break.
Suzanne Simard says that trees in the city are also talking to each other. Beneath the concrete, the internet continues. So,
What are trees saying to each other about climate change? They're warning each other. They're taking steps themselves to survive, and they're finding ways to adapt with our help. And to quote my old pal Socrates, wonder is the beginning of wisdom. Okay, we can't leave without you telling me how and why we're going to eat dirt, because my 3.5-year-old wants to know.
So one of the cool ways that we can tell the difference between organic material from the mineral soil, we want to know, if we're dealing with one or the other, because most of the mycorrhizal network is in the organic material.
Okay.
I love dirt.
Okay.
So I put some in my mouth. And
yeah.
Can you hear it crunching?
Yes.
Okay, now I know it's mineral.
Does it taste good?
So good.
The gritty stuff?
Yeah, it's really good.
Should I try some?
Try it, yeah. It's really nice. It's really good for your bowels too.
We'll get that off camera. Actually, it's not bad.
It's not bad.
We're trying to get dirt that tastes like chocolate, and Suzanne told me you got to get down below the surface into the humus. Like here. Let's cheers first. It's not good?
Yeah.
It doesn't taste like chocolate.
Land Back is a CBC original podcast where we uncover land theft in Canada and look at how Indigenous people are taking it all back. Land Back is out now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
Snow and freezing temperatures make it clear winter is really here. And just in time, an annual tradition has returned to downtown Vancouver. The ice is open at Robson Square. The popular rink draws thousands of people throughout the season. Skating is free, and if you don't have your own gear, rental skates are about $5. It's open until 9 weekday evenings and 11 on weekends, depending on the weather. You can lace up and twirl around, and then you can really do that till the end of February. You're gonna hit the ice, Kuljeet?
It's so cold outside. I will eventually get there before February, but probably not this week.
I'm in the same boat.
Yes.
I don't know if I will get there by February either. I'm always cold.
We're both always cold, and it's going to continue to be cold. We've got wind warnings in effect. We've got warnings all along the coast of BC, and temperatures are much colder than they should be for this time of year. And on top of that, everybody wants to know, when's the next snowfall coming? Well, it's scheduled for Friday afternoon when this low pressure system comes off the coast, but it's going to stay offshore, so we're not going to see what we saw the other day in terms of the amount of snow that we got. So it will be relatively quick. It will will be gone within a few hours by Saturday for sure. Now, these temperatures that I'm talking about, colder than usual across the province. Minus 21 today in Prince George, should be on average around -2. Same story for Kamloops and Cranbrook as well. Tomorrow's highs also sitting in the double digits for Prince George, -18 with some flurries, -24 in Dease Lake, -17 in Williams Lake, and -10 in Kelowna. Much colder than what we're used to this time of year. For us here Friday, we had a 60% chance of flurries. That got dropped down to 40%. Sunshine, cold temperatures for the weekend, and then some rain, possible snow again for the start of next week. Anita?
All right, we are ready for it. Thanks, Kuljeet.
You're welcome.
So we hear a lot of stories about endangered southern orca populations, but not all whales are in trouble. The northern resident killer whales are actually doing quite well. Here's why.
My name is Jared Towers. I live here in Alert Bay, home of the killer whale, and I do a number of things in regards to killer whale research, both here and in many other places around the world. I grew up on the water with killer whales every day of every summer since I was 6 years old. And that was because my family owned a whale watching company here, one of the first whale watching companies in Canada. Working with killer whales is really all I've known. Northern and southern residents are actually very similar in a lot of ways. They fill a similar ecological niche. One of the big differences is that the range of southern residents living where they do, they overlap a lot more with human activities for the most part. And all the associated activity, shipping, and all the associated impacts of that. And so southern residents are faced with a lot more threats within their range. Northern residents, on the other hand, live in a more pristine environment. It's worth mentioning that none of these populations intermingle at all. You know, they've been genetically distinct for generations and generations. That said, they do compete for some of the same resources. They both feed on Chinook salmon. They both prefer and probably only eat fish and large fish. A lot of the salmon that come down the coast and are returning to spawn, it may be that northern resident killer whales have first access to those fish as they work their way down the coast. I think we can be optimistic about the northern residents. Their population size is bigger than it ever has been before. When studies on the population abundance were begun in the early 70s, the population was 1/3 the size it is now. So this population has been growing at an average of about 2.2% per year for the last 40 some odd years. And the southern residents more or less just staying the same. It's pretty special for some of us who get woken up in the middle of the night by killer whales passing our houses, or get to know different families and individuals over the years and watch them make use of their own traditional territories and bring their families back to these areas. And I think that, it goes to show that these parts of the coast are important to these whales and have been and will continue to be for generations, so long as they can make a living here.
For 15 years, this Manitoba woman lived on the streets. Coming up, how she's turning her life around and helping others at the same time.
I thought the ice wouldn't be a little less slippery, maybe. But yeah, it's my first time trying crawling. Well, it is fun. I thought it could be a little more easy, yeah. Trying to swim is more like in home, you just clean your, maybe your room. It was something like that, but harder, yeah. It was difficult. My first attempt, I didn't do it, I was just only holding it. But then the second and the third, it was a little bit better. Yeah, but I think if I do it right now, I could make it, to the home.
It's my first time. I almost didn't know this sport exists at all. I knew some people cheered at rocks, but I didn't know it was a sport at all. I think it was just a penalty for hockey or something like that, I don't know. At the beginning, I fell down, but after a few attempts, I could throw the rock all the way.
I mean, it's easier than I thought. It looked really difficult, but it's really fun. Also a really cold place. You kind of skate. Yeah, I like skating. So it's fun when you kind of go through the ice and you feel like a bit free. It's easier than you think, though, but don't get too comfortable too soon because you kind of have to run in ice and you don't want to fall.
Being from the country where they come from, they may or may not ever, try this again. But the fact is, they're able to try it today. They're smiling, they're happy, and that's really what matters. Why we want to do it is to involve as many people, many diverse groups, for all the right reasons to come out and enjoy it.
How do we face these challenging times together?
Every year we are inspired by the generosity of our listeners.
Tune in to CBC on December 2nd for our annual Food Bank Day, a full day of special programming, giving, and community.
Lots going on this morning, lots of guests, great music, prizes to give away.
Visit cbc.ca/foodbankday for details on how you can participate. Let's come together and make the season kind.
Our next story is about a life that's turning around. A woman who spent more than a decade living on the streets and sleeping in bus shelters is now on her way to a career helping others. And it's all because of the help she received from a friend who refused to leave her. Erin Brahman spoke with her about her journey.
I haven't been in here for a while.
Josephine Harper used to spend winters here.
Just any warmest bus shack I can get. I don't even know if the heaters are on. It doesn't matter how many people or whoever it was. There's numerous times there's a stranger, but we're in there for the same situations.
For 15 years, it was often a roof over her head when she had nothing else.
I would always drink myself numb to not feel the hopelessness of being homeless. We're scared to reach out because of being rejected.
Harper grew up in Red Sucker Lake First Nation in northeastern Manitoba. She was raised by people dealing with the trauma of residential schools. She was abused, used alcohol as an escape.
I think it almost feels like as if I was homeless from the beginning.
On the streets, though, she wasn't alone.
I ended up with the right people, and I guess them themselves too, I did learn from them of what homelessness is.
They looked out for her, but there was also conflict. Homeless shelters wouldn't take her. She was in and out of jail, and then she met Feja Rejipovic.
The lawyer reached out. He was fairly desperate. She was a lady without much help, much support. We did anything from immediate food supplies to clothing to some EIA stuff to housing to just trying to be there for her.
Harper said she tested Rejipovic over the course of 5 years, but he never left. In 2021, she had 2 near-death experiences. She got help and stopped drinking.
He's the reason why I am sober today.
And made sure that no matter what she was going through, I just didn't judge, and I was here to help out and just be there for her and to prove to her that it's doesn't have to change. You know, it's not about results, it's about investment and relationship.
Harper is starting her training to become a social worker. The next time she spends time on the streets, it will be to help.
I think about them a whole lot. I pray for them. I still say hi. I'm not ashamed. They're still people. I will not give up on them. I will go to them. I will stand beside them as long as it takes.
Just like Fedja stands beside her. Erin Broman, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Heartwarming story to end our show tonight. That is it for CBC Vancouver News on this first day of December. We leave you with a reminder about what's coming tomorrow. We are once again hosting our annual Food Bank Day. We'll have special programming province-wide on CBC Radio 1 and CBC Listen. And of course, we're raising money for Food Banks BC. You can already donate online. All you have to do is visit foodbanksbc.com to give. Have a good night.